You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Moveville University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, The Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle. Hey guys, Jim Chester here, Chiro Hustle Podcast. This is our live stream. I got Ethan Dangberg over there. He's in the OC. Wrong way. He's over there. And I'm in Grand Junction, the Grand Valley of the Western Slope of Colorado, which I like to say no one lives. And our sponsor today is Legacy Wealth Management. If you guys have subluxations in your money flow and money line, reach out to Asen Hansen. He'll be sure to sort that out for you and unsubluxate your bank accounts. And welcome to the show, Ethan.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, man, I am so excited. I know you do a lot with the Chiropractic Business Academy to onboard new clients and to get people into a culture, and you start training them and teaching them, and you make success. So I'm really excited for you to start sharing some of those ideas. But first, let's talk a little bit about you and how did you get to the position that you're at now with Chiropractic Business Academy?
It's a great question. I worked for CBA for 6 years now, and for me, it's being a chiropractic kid myself. My story starts when I was about 7 years old. And to make it a longer story short, on the way to school, mom was running late, taking us there, was rushing on the way there, probably skimmed a red light a little too quickly. We argue back and forth whether it was still yellow or if it was actually red. But either way, we got T-boned from the back. It was pretty traumatic incident. I mean, when you're 7 years old and you're already kind of in a rush and have adrenaline going, trying to make it to school, so you're not late for the 10th time that month. And then all of a sudden you get hit from the back and your car spins, and there was no external damages. So my folks thought we were fine. Nobody had any cuts or bruises or anything like that. But at the end of the day, about 3 days later, I remember waking up as a 7-year-old kid in my bed with excruciating lower back pain, just traveling all over my legs and up my back. And I don't know, Jim, when you're like that old, or that young, I should say, you don't know what that means. And it wasn't like it felt like it was like an exact connection to anything that was happening. I thought I was fine. We all thought we were okay. So that happened. And my parents were fortunately never really had us on medications or cough syrups or things of that manner growing up. They were very, they had a very health conscious mindset at that time, fortunately. So we had a family friend who was a chiropractor, Dr. Randy Russell out of Sacramento, California. And thank God he was there. And he basically took us in on a personal injury case. And again, we'd known him for so long, but never saw him, right? And once we had a chance to go into his office, I remember one thing that he did, which was he explained chiropractic in a way that a 7-year-old could understand it. Because my whole question was, okay, so how do you know what's wrong with my back if you don't open it up and take a look at it? And he said, I got these magic hands here, Ethan, that will tell me all I need to know. Then he starts palpating and going through the whole process. But I don't remember exactly what he said in the education process, but I remember it made sense. And I remember I wanted to keep going to go see him. And so we started off as a personal injury case and then continued on with more care for the next couple of years. And our whole family got treated. And then from there, chiropractic became a part of my life. So for me, it intrinsically means a lot to be able to contribute to the industry. And then about 6 years ago, stumbled upon an opportunity with the Chiropractic Business Academy to help with sales training and management training as a trainer for their course modules. They teach staff and doctors on how to run their business more effectively and their practices more efficiently. And kind of started from that as a trainer, worked into a consultant, learned the systems from the Chiropractic Business Academy, helped to implement them with doctors around the country. And then from there, I started to, over the last 4 years or so, I've been traveling all over the country to chiropractic offices from everywhere from New York City down to Miami, Florida, and as high as Alaska, up in Anchorage, and out here in California, and just trying to really bless the world with tools of efficiency, increasing performance, and building rock star cultures and A-class teams within chiropractic, man. I mean, if there's one thing that gets me the most, it kills me inside, is when I drive by what used to be a chiropractic office in my local city, and it says, for lease on it, or there's a new tenant. And every time I see that, whatever city I'm in, it kills me. And I know that every time that any of us in the industry can help each other out to really infuse knowledge, infuse systems, infuse uh, anything to allow for every chiropractor to flourish and prosper, and to do so with minimal stress and with heightened prosperity. It just fills my soul, fills up my tank, and I just love seeing thriving chiropractic offices around the country. So that's my mission, that's my goal, and I love being able to be a contribution as a chiropractic kid myself.
Dude, that's so cool. One of the things that I want to talk about with you just off of that lead is I tell people every time that a chiropractor falls out of business, the chiropractic profession becomes more vulnerable.
Mm.
And every time that we see one of our own fall out of the world of chiropractic, we lose one of our soldiers. So it's really not us against them or an us on our own, but it's an us together idea. And the
Yeah.
more that chiropractic comes up with the idea that it's more about us together, then we have a better future for this profession, this beautiful profession that we both love, chiropractic. And, the story that you share with us, Ethan, isn't unlike most people's. Most people do get into chiropractic because some type of a collision. They get into it because some type of sports injury. They get into because some type of a chronic symptom, whether it be a headache, whether it be a sciatica, whether it be something. But most people just don't understand that it has an effect on your vibrational frequency of health all around. It's not just helping with symptomatology. It's not just helping with what happens when you start, when you get into trouble with some type of like a snag, when you get snagged, by like, my hand's going numb. Oh crap. What do I do? Okay, maybe I'll try the crazy chiropractor.
Exactly. Well, the big thing for us, I mean, again, it was a personal injury case, but then we were continuing on care for years afterwards, and just always stayed on maintenance, and it became a part of our life. And so for me, it's funny. It's like, I don't know what it's like to go to the drugstore to pick up antihistamine medication, because I just know if I get a cold, I know where to go. I know what to do. I know what to continue doing. And it's funny to see how many, people that just pop these things like it's candy, and that's the default. And that's, I don't know, for me, from a personal lifestyle standpoint, it's all been about paradigm, and it's been about, walking me through the right steps younger and earlier on, which is why I love seeing kids getting adjusted as often as possible, because it not only gets them, it gets them functioning at the optimal level and get the energy frequencies really moving at a young age. Because what that does is, I mean, that kid can be an influence on other kids at the schoolyard and in the classroom at such a huge level. But then it also, I think people need to realize, it sets a whole new paradigm in place for that kid when he's older, when he's 25, 26, 30 years old, and he's making choices about his own body or her own body at that time. Mm-hmm. And if you set the right paradigm early on, when they're on their own, blazing their own path, they are making the right choices for themselves, and then can influence people in a more effective manner. I always say, just think about every person you help, every patient you really change a life for and create a miracle for in your office. It's not just that patient, it's the network of people around them, that the lives that they're going to be changing, because that person is not going to be as irritable. They're going to be influencing somebody unknowingly in a more positive fashion when they're giving them their coffee at Starbucks, or when they're checking them out at the cashier stand. Or maybe your patient works at the DMV, and all of a sudden that person is like the bright soul inside the DMV that actually lightens up hundreds of other people that are going through an otherwise monotonous environment. I mean, the impact is so huge. And I think that if we can do that for our patients, and then why not do that for every team member within the clinic itself as well? So unsubluxating business operations, unsubluxating the culture, a bad negative culture, people not feeling fulfilled with work. If you can create that environment that you create with your patients, with your team, and then of course, obviously as a business owner, to where you can vibrate at a high frequency, running your practice or doing your job in the office itself, it really aligns everything perfectly to where we have the mission being accomplished, but then we're able to perform at a high level, we're able to work efficiently, and then also when we go into practice, it's not a struggle, and it can be something that you can get excited towards doing and jump out of bed every morning, not only because of the purpose that you're accomplishing, but also because of the environment you're creating internally within your team.
Yeah, I totally understand everything that you're saying, and I'm glad you're sharing that with everybody out there, because some people just might not grasp how to streamline efficiency in health. Efficiency in health is a whole different level of understanding than I want a quick fix.
Yeah.
And when you have efficiency and health, and that's one of the things we talked about in our pre-chat was efficiency and health for you. You tell
Hmm.
yourself you have 14 meals a week, one meal at a time. And I know that there's some people out there that are interested in more health ideas. And
Yeah.
you weren't always this healthy and this idealistic about eating right and exercising, were you?
Not at all. I mean, I've always dabbled with it, but never really took it seriously. And then, yeah, we were chatting, and on my Instagram, you can see a before and after of when I first went to Orange County. I wasn't overweight or anything, but I was just a tiny little guy, 6 years ago. And then I just dedicated myself, for 6 years with obviously exercise habits and then, of course, diet habits that I was never perfect on, but always worked to create a system around that with all this travel that I do, managed to work effectively for my body. And then obviously the results speak for themselves. I mean, I'm happy to say that I've moved in my fitness journey in the direction I want to go to. But it goes back to system, right? We all know the famous acronym system being save yourself time, energy, and money, right? So you have to understand that with your health, it's the same thing. You're putting your patients on a system 3 times a week for this many visits, for this many weeks, twice a week, whatever your frequency is, whatever your philosophy is for practice, you're putting a patient on some kind of a system for their health. And it's important, I think, that we do the same for ourselves, especially with saving all these lives. We expend so much energy into other people. We got to make sure to fill up our own tank emotionally, but also physically with how we treat our own body.
Yeah, I'm just going to do a quick call out to everybody out there watching. Anybody that is a chiropractor and you're not getting checked at least weekly, then you need to start doing that, because I find that the chiropractic tribe sometimes might let themselves slip away from staying under a good standard of care as well. So anybody out there watching, stick to your own standard of care that you would appreciate for your patients to stick under as well.
And that includes chiropractic staff as well.
Yeah, honestly, when I worked in an office, Dr. Mike in Arlington Heights, we'd be in the middle of a conversation. I'd just go lay down. He would know it's time to adjust me, because
Yeah.
if I didn't go do that, then we'd start shift and I wouldn't get adjusted.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
it's important for you to put your foot forward and know that you have to have good lines of communication to make sure that you stay under a good standard of care yourself, the ones taking care of people.
100%. Well, Simon Sinek talks about, in his book Start With Why and his TED Talk, I'm sure everyone's watched. But people don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. And if you are applying it, and utilizing it yourself, and experiencing the why of chiropractic yourself, it just flows naturally in all the dialogues and the scripting or the systems that you're communicating, educating patients about in the office. So I always tell docs, if you have staff that aren't going out of their way to educate their patients, whether at the front desk or in the back or anything else, I mean, make sure they're getting treated, and so they know and can feel the benefits that chiropractic gives, so they can just, in the natural flow of conversation, educate and communicate about it with patients in the office.
So let's turn back to you again.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about, like, let's give a takeaway too. If people are like out there traveling all the time and they live like non routine lives that's their routine is non-routine. What if they're traveling? Give some tips to them how they might be able to eat a little healthier while they're on the road.
That's a great question. That's pretty much my life. So a couple things is you have to make sure to be prepared ahead of time. So prior proper planning prevents poor performance, and you want to have high performance with your eating and what you're eating. So being organized ahead of time is going to be key. So keeping it simple. That's the main thing I do. So I understand I have 14 meals in a week on average. I do intermittent fasting, so I'm eating a lunch, I'm eating dinner, and there's a couple snacks in between. Now I can load up on snacks that are going to be healthy for me ahead of time. Cashews, almonds, or go to the grocery store and buy some good fats for myself that are going to be beneficial to my body. So I can get those in between, but those 14 meals are going to be key. I just play a game with myself. I think gamifying anything in life is one way to kind of get yourself motivated and incentivized into accomplishing a goal. So for me, I have 14 meals. I'm going to give myself 1, maybe 2 meals a week so I can just really enjoy myself. If I'm with a doctor and we're having dinner at a really unique restaurant in the city I'm in, I want to be able to obviously enjoy it and pick something off the menu that I want to eat. But in the meantime, I have to know that, okay, good, I got like a few options. If I'm going to stop at a restaurant or the grocery store, Whole Foods, I'm not going to be grabbing anything in sight. I'm going to be looking at, I'm already prepared ahead of time. I know what my procedures are in my head of like, okay, good, I can do grilled chicken. I can do some fish. I got to get a vegetable like a broccoli or an asparagus, right? And then get some of my brown rice in there if I can, or a sweet potato or a complex carb, and just basically keep it to a few options. And for me personally, if I just keep it simple, for 12 of those meals, I can do that knowing that on meal 13 or 14 that I'm going to be eating, I can really enjoy myself and then kind of, reset the clock the next week. And so for me, you go to the gas station, right? I pretty much just put like a blindfold on practically, just go in there, feel around for cashews, almonds, water, pay, gone, gas filled in the car, I'm done. That way I don't get tempted. I think we're all going to be tempted constantly. And we have, the food industry is there to tempt us into eating things that are not conducive for our health. So for me, I know I have my go-tos. And then also a big thing, Jim, that I realized a long time ago was whether you're on the road or you're in practice or you're in career with chiropractic or you're in school right now, there's going to be mental stresses happening every single day. And so sometimes those mental stresses can leave you burnt out or exhausted at the end of the day if you're not aligning yourself with your purpose constantly. But one thing, if you feel that way, it's 6, 7 o'clock, you've hustled for 10 hours, you really push the envelope, you're going to want to have some kind of something as an avenue to relax you. And some people choose Netflix, some people choose YouTube, non-productive means, but also some of us, most of us, tend to choose food to relax us. There was nothing better, back in the day than finishing a long 12-hour day at work and then going to Chili's, getting a massively huge bacon burger with just barbecue and fries and extra salt and a Coors Light at the end of the day and just take it all in while watching the game on the TV. And that was like the ultimate. I put the bow on the day, but it did obviously a wreck on my health. So for me, it's like I'm going to find an avenue that I can use to relax my mind outside of food. So I'm not utilizing food as a resource to emotionally let go. I'm using something else that's going to benefit me that way. And I just, for me, eating most of the week is still work. So I just treat it as a game and go through it.
And I think we're doing something real effective here, Ethan. We're getting to know the person behind the mission. And now let's transition a little bit into the mission. And the mission that you have is to really help strengthen up the efficiencies and the financials of chiropractic offices by helping with the culture. Let's talk about this culture a little bit.
Culture is going to be, it's a personality of a group, right? So I think most people get this word confused, at least when I get feedback from them as to when I ask them, what do you think this word means? People just hear it as a buzzword. It's the kind of the new thing, that the chick thing people are saying in management to kind of be more like Silicon Valley and to have bean bags and to have hammocks and sleeping pods. And that really is the last thing that culture is. And I think that everyone needs to recognize that if you have a one-man team, a two-man team, a 20-man team in your office, or you have multiple offices, there's a culture that is there. It's the personality of your team. It's what they are. So if you look at right now, we're getting towards the NBA finals and we have, various teams that are trying to get the ring and trying to win the championship. And if you watch the Golden State Warriors play, whether you love them, hate them, could care less, if you watch them, you see they have a vibe, a culture, a way they work with each other. And it's loose, it's fun, they have a good time, they hustle and they work, but they also, they have a certain culture, that the personality behind their team. You could take another team like the San Antonio Spurs, and again, I apologize for any non-basketball fans here, so bear with me for 30 seconds. I'll be done in a minute. But, they have a different culture. They are still a winning franchise, but they are like system-based, nose to the grindstone, and it seems a little bit more rough around the edges, but that's the culture that's built. So your team has a culture inside your chiropractic practice. These are personalities. These are the values, the traditions, the attitudes, behaviors, the interactions that your team has that they just intrinsically operate off of. And if you aren't continuously building the culture that you want, an inadvertent culture will be built, and usually it's not the most prettiest. And so,
And just to lead into that, say you have somebody that is at work and their at home culture, and then their immediate around their grid culture is to always be on this. How do you curb somebody from that type of behavior?
Well, there's a quote I like to use from Jocko Willink, which is, the standards of your team is not what you preach, it's what you tolerate. So when you're building a culture, it's not only just about building up the positive mission-based culture. That's a big part of it. It's preaching the right message and getting people to move forward in a positive manner with their work and with their mission. But it's also what you tolerate. And I think that there's way too many individuals I've worked with that tolerate too much. They tolerate people on their phone, and they might mention it or say something or say, don't be on your phone, but they don't do anything substantially to handle that, because usually people are just creatures of habit. And the culture of habit is to be on your phone all the time. And so you're asking somebody just to all of a sudden break that habit for 8 hours. It's going to be very difficult. So you have to really just obviously create an environment that just doesn't allow it. And you don't have a laundry list of 85 things that you don't allow in your office, but you have 3 to 5 things in your team that, is part of this culture and who we are. We just don't tolerate this kind of behavior. So we're not going to try to change your life, but there's a couple of things. One of them is your phone. We got to make sure we have a set level, set of standards here in regards to, policies or procedures or just do's and don'ts that we got to follow. And one of them is, phone's got to be off. If it's your kid or your babysitter or someone from the school or your parents, they can call the office and we'll get them to you right away. So it's just what you tolerate in the office. And I think at the end of the day, people will be very thankful because they have structure and they understand that, if they're not going to do it, then the other team members won't as well. And people will be more focused on the mission instead of what's in their hand on Snapchat or on Instagram.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic bootcamp, Moveville University, Pure Chiro Notes, Dr. Alok Trivedi, the Black Diamond Club, Element Mattresses, Legacy Wealth Management, Posture Screen, Vita Chiropractic, the Universal Traction System, MedZone, Vantage Point Marketing, and Imaging Services. Let's hustle.
Yeah, and let's go a little bit lighthearted now because that was pretty hardcore.
Yeah,
I know, I know, but I know that we have to keep people on task. I know that to build a good team with amazing culture, we have to make sure that people have a high standard of understanding what's going on around them. Yep. They have to have good situational awareness, and they have to be plugged in to make sure that the people coming into the offices have the best experience that they can and have that culture of not being the important one, using your self-serving lifestyle and have the idea of I'm in service lifestyle.
Exactly.
So they can differentiate a little bit about, I'm not in my self-serving zone. I'm in my culture creating zone for other people that are part of this business.
Exactly. Well, it's the attitude of it's not about me, it's about we. And we includes the patients, and that's part of building a solid culture is having core values, not only established and documented, but applied and discussed every single week and every day. And one of those core values is patient-centered work and patient first. It's always patient first. That's the only reason why we exist is for the patient. So if the patient is first, then we're misaligned to what our vision is. So number one core value is patient first and putting the patient ahead of anything that you're doing. And that includes things like that. And I think the bigger picture is the patient receives that benefit. And of course, they want to keep coming back more and more to get more of what you're giving, which is putting the patient there to help heal them both emotionally and spiritually.
And, there's certain levels of engagement. Like if you're the boss and you're in your private office and you're in between patients, sure, go check your phone. But there's certain levels of engagement for when you're not the boss. And you know that these are the things that you're going to be dedicated to for a 4-hour split. During this 4-hour split, dedicate yourself to being the best that you can to get the best outcome for the people that come through those doors.
Absolutely. What I find too, Jim, is when you have the right people there in place to move your mission forward, this is a conversation you don't have to have too often because these are the people that are thinking with the mission that you have to help patients and the impact you're giving on the community. And so a team that I guess has to be constantly told this, right, is usually one that may not be the right team that's going to align with your mission. You have to be able to have that conversation with yourself or the ones that are important to you. But and even more importantly, when you have the right people that are locked into what you're doing, whether they're super talented or they're brand new, they will put the practice first. They'll put the team first, put the patient first, and then their actions will align with that and their engagement and dedication to what they're doing. And even if it's a simple task, we'll move concurrently.
Well, the thing is most people just want to date their jobs. They don't want to marry them. And most people don't realize that by marrying a chiro office, you need to have congruency with the mission-based plan. And when you have a mission-based plan, then you actually buy more into that system. And then you realize that you're going to create miracles with your personality just by doing what's expected of you and what you can accomplish. I think so many of us are looking for the handicap of saying, yeah, it's just a job. Well, when it comes to saving lives and working in an office that churns out life-saving care, then you kind of have to put yourself back and say, I'm in a really special spot. There's plenty of jobs. Go get a job if you're not interested in doing what's expected of you to save these people's lives with that office.
And that's culture right there. That is when you can build that vibe, whether it's spoken or unspoken. That's the culture that you want. That's where you start. And it's amazing the domino effect that can happen once you align that together with your team. Then you can start putting in systems and things that align around that. But if you're fighting people to just get on board with your mission, you just got to evaluate your team. And at the end of the day, when you have a team like that, it makes practice, oh my gosh, just it makes it a breeze when you have those people that are building a culture around serving and every way the practice needs it to.
Well, we're turning a lot of corners to like talk about expectations of people. Let's talk a little bit what it is like to work in the culture of the Chiropractic Business Academy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. One thing, there's a couple things, right? We have a set of core values that we apply here with our company, but one of them is we're having fun. Another one is we're a hustler. I mean, you can see I got two of my best friends here. I got persistence and I got hustle right here at my standing desk. And so we all know that, we sometimes have to put in a 15-hour day, a 14-hour day to serve the industry enough to make an impact. And whether it's at seminars or over the phone consulting or training in our training centers, whatever it's going to be, or even on site. I mean, at the end of the day, all of us know that part of our culture is to make a massive impact, to have fun while doing it. I mean, and Jim, you've met some of our team members as well, and you know that. I mean, we don't think of this as a job. We think of this as we're blazing the path for a new form of healthcare and a phoenix to arise. And we know we have a massive impact on making that happen. So it's our responsibility, our duty, right? And to make that happen in every way we can. So for us, we hustle, we grind, we push, we will push our clients to the degree that they need to be pushed and helped to hit the goals that they have in practice. A big thing we have is holding each other accountable and also, holding the industry accountable to what the doctors within the industry can actually do and the greatness that's within each chiropractor. And by doing that, we hope that every business that is involved in chiropractic and every clinic that's involved in moving the industry forward can do so in a way that's going to allow for healthcare to reshape itself one stone, one office at a time.
Dude, so many gold nuggets. I think that if anybody just combed over this interview with you, they could probably pull out about 50 things that they could make pull quotes of, and they could start doing their own memes off of your message.
I love that. I'll look forward to seeing those.
But it's fun when you know that you have the confidence to deliver something that you know what you guys do changes the lives of those offices. And that must give you a lot of confidence.
Well, confidence, but also it fills all of us up, because it's what we're born to do. I mean, I think that every person that is a part of our company, has the talent built inside of them, but also has a spirit that wants to give, wants to help, and wants to see others do well. And no better industry to see that being done than in chiropractic.
Yeah, you said something there. John D. Martini gave me some coaching a little bit, and he said most people have something really important inside of them. They just don't know how to create their highest life values, and then they don't know how to give themselves permission to be great. Because once you cross that threshold of giving yourself permission to be great, he's like, then everything kind of falls into place for you and you start finding your highest life values. You start doing the things that you think are important to you, and you say the things to people that you find important to say, and you stop saying to people that aren't important, and you stop doing the things that aren't important to you. So then you start living at a higher grade of what you believe in, and you start focusing, you find your lane, and then you focus on just doing those things that fill you up. And then you have a better quality of life because you've now chosen, kind of like epigenetics. You can choose the behaviors that you have, the thoughts that you have, and you can choose the people that you spend your time around and the activities that you do. And when you start doing that within a culture of chiropractic, and you have your nervous system tuned up, you have your thoughts cleaned up, and you have your actions tuned up, you're going to just figure out where your lane is. You're going to help so many more people around you. Your energy is going to be vibrating at a higher frequency, and people are going to recognize that. They're going to notice that, and they're going to be like, what is that person doing?
100%. And the beautiful thing about that, Jim, is it's not manufactured. It's authentic. It becomes who you are. And And it's just, all we're really aiming for is to find what you just talked about within ourselves, and then to be in the vehicle and on the right road to allow us to exemplify that and to live that life. And then all of a sudden you just kind of find yourself being that influence naturally. And then you start attracting people that are in your life that are the same for you. And it's a beautiful, harmonious lifestyle to live in. And you start seeing the world change just one person at a time.
And, to go one step further into financials, it's not like Grant Cardone would say, it's not having a money problem, it's having an earning problem.
Yep.
And when you get plugged into a good position like that, like I worked in the office for 5.5 years. I love that culture. I embodied that. But then I realized that it was time for me to graduate. And then I went on to the next thing. I went on to hustling patients. And then I went on to the next thing. I started hustling interviews. We made the movie. So, when you think about it, anybody out there that's creating that culture, don't be afraid of somebody that wants to live bigger and have more with life that's on your team either, because eventually people are going to graduate and they're going to go on to greater things. So if you create greatness within people that are part of what you're doing right now, support them when they go on to do things that they find their highest life value in.
That's so huge. There's a great TED Talk that exudes that philosophy in business, which is one by a gentleman named Vishen Lakhiani. He runs a company called Mind Valley. I'm sure some people probably seen blog posts or videos from that company. And it's amazing to see like their business model is to pour into their team and their staff so much. They only hire the best, but they bring them in, pour into them. They focus so much on personal development, on training, on establishing and creating just the best team possible, that their goal is then to create entrepreneurs out of their staff. And then they support those entrepreneurs, they fund them, they build a network around it, or they just support them in their journey. But then they develop a system in their company to where they can just bring in the next line of people, and the person before them that graduated out of the company into a new chapter in their life can just fall right into the system that was created for them, and they can pour into them, and then the same cycle can continue. It's a much more effective and fulfilling model than being in business and shutting your team out from knowledge because you don't want them to learn too much because you've been burned in the past. And thus you just kind of keep things in a box and only give them as much knowledge as they need. And that philosophy in business really is one that doesn't allow for growth, or makes growth very difficult and very unfulfilling.
Well, then you don't have to worry about hiring and firing too much because you already have a farm team that's in the works. And then you have an exit strategy for people that are doing great. And then there's no confusion with people's personalities growing, because if you guys believe it or not, you guys are going to be working with somebody. You love them answering your phone. You love them doing your calls for you. You love them punching in all the information. They will eventually graduate and go do something else. Or like many chiropractors do, what do? They influence people to become chiropractors. So they will go to chiropractic school if you do a good enough job with your tribe and your culture.
And that's a great thing. That should be what's happening. The staff of your office should want to become providers and clinicians and chiropractic doctors as they move through the culture of your office. And obviously your goal as a chiropractor is to always be using their talents to help build the system, the procedures, the training, the how-tos, the successful actions behind what allowed them to be so great. Video those, document those, and build a system around them so that when they do grow out of your practice, which is a great thing, that's a testament to the culture you're building, then you apply the acronym ABR, always be recruiting. You're always recruiting and building a massive funnel of great potential applicants to join your tribe. And then you just move those people right into that system. And then the system builds itself incrementally better over time based on those people that are qualified for that position that can continue to build that system. And all of a sudden, you have an office that's growing, and it's doing so staff-driven, not based on all the efforts that you're doing yourself.
Yeah, so I'm going to take a quick pause here, and I'm going to acknowledge some people that are watching. We have 4 viewers right now. If you guys can just chat in on the comment section there, say where you guys are watching from. And if you guys are watching this on replay and you made it this far, hashtag replay into the comments so we know that you guys were one of the ones that really took some notes in this one and got some of these takeaways that Ethan and I are sharing. If you guys are in the chiropractic business, this stuff is invaluable for understanding your staff culture, for understanding personal motivation, for understanding how to take care of you so you can take care of others more, how to kind of clean up some of the ideas that you might have been stumbling over, or some of the procedures you were doing that you didn't really pay attention to, but really get focused and narrow on what you think is good for you. But if you're watching this on replay, put in their hashtag replay. And if you're watching this live, just tell me which city you're watching in from so we kind of know where you guys are and who's participating with this live. I'd also like to just give a quick acknowledgement to a few people that commented in on this. Dr. Barbara Eaton, she is one of our pilot sponsors. She is with the Chiropractic 56-day chiropractic boot camp. She doubles people's practices, I think like 2 months or 3 months. It's pretty amazing. She has a great force that she's doing to help people grow too. And I have Chris Price. He is somebody I met down at the Keto Academy over the weekend in Louisville, Kentucky. That group of people is like they're on ketones and they're insane. But Chris is somebody I met that I saw working out at the Omni hotel I was at, and he was in the gym, and I stopped those guys and I said, hey, I'm going to be starting to do some more interviews today. I noticed that you guys were into the Prove It team. Would you guys want to be the first two to go talk? So right now I did something really creative with him and his friend Aaron. They are having a competition by Friday. Whoever gets the most likes, comments, and shares for their video that I did with them on the street, they're going to be able to get an interview with me talking about their experiences over the weekend. So pretty cool, right? Like I'm incentivizing people to get engagement with something that I've created and built a culture around to where we can get the more information to more people. And then more people understand that these cats are really onto something and they're helping people. And then we have Noel Lloyd. He says, I have a new patient, or I have new employees read all the patient testimonials, then teach me what they learned. So that's a good way of building that culture too, is knowing that they're creating miracles in those offices and they get a chance to share the information at a high level back to the people. And then it becomes easier for them to understand what actually happens in those four walls. Then one of our sponsors, Joe Freeman, says, MedZone is here. Love the culture talk. Love the culture talk. Good job. Joe Freeman will be my 1:00 interview today. He's one of our sponsors as well with MedZone. And it's really cool that, we built a culture now. We brought on 15 sponsors for us. We get a chance to interact with them. And then what we get to do is put out dynamic interviews like the one we did with you today, because they believed enough in my culture with my hustle and my Chiro hustle that now we have support to put out the most consistent branded information in chiropractic that anybody's doing. So I always say energy goes where money flows. And when people take care of us and they see that we're doing something that other people aren't doing, people buy into people. We buy into each other. The reason you said I'll do this interview with you is because you bought into me. You bought into what we're doing. And that's why I said, let's get you on, because I buy into what you're doing. And when you do that, it's easy. And then we can start a cultural conversation like we did. And we can talk about the things that inspire us. We can talk about the things that other people might need to hear and that they don't say, like graduate your damn employees. Like those are big things that most people are like afraid of. They live in fear that somebody's going to leave them. Big time.
It's fun. It's interesting. Live in possibility. I mean, look at when you create a culture like that, look at the possibility you're creating for people. Because listen, again, if we want to invoke a culture and an attitude of it's not about me, it's about we, then as a practice owner, you got to have that same mentality as well and have that same viewpoint towards your team members. And it's about we as a team and the betterment of each person. And then when they grow, it only is going to do better things to your practice when you build a culture in that fashion. And the time that they are there, you'll get blood, sweat, and tears from them pouring into your mission if that is the culture you're building.
Well, dude, we're pushing up on 37 minutes. Is there anything that I didn't talk to you that you'd like to share with our audience today?
At the end of the day, I think that our company is helping put the business into the chiropractic practice and to give you the systems tools to optimize the culture that you want to create in your office, to build in systems to operate efficiently and not have it all on you as the doctor to build your practice, but have a staff-driven team. And of course, optimizing performance and allowing for these systems to build growth in your practice, to do so sustainably. And then, of course, the big, again, another buzzword is scaling. But our whole goal is to get you to scale your practice sustainably. So it's not just about you working 60, 70 hours a week, but to do so with the team driving your vision forward. You can find us at chirobizacademy.com if you want to inquire or ask any questions about what it is that we're doing, our mission, and how we help the industry. chirobizacademy.com. And then you can find me on Instagram, first and last name with an underscore in the middle. And I'm posting stuff all day long about the concepts we're talking about.
Yeah, and I that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring you on, because I thought you would give a real value add to people when it came to understanding how to not only self-motivate, but to team motivate. So I just want to say thank you for spending some time with me this afternoon. I also want to thank Legacy Wealth Management. They're over that shoulder. They manage people's finances, and they get you to unsubluxate your bank accounts in your future. So if you guys want to have more coaching and have a system and strategy and efficiency to not have your money go out the side door like your patients, let's get you in touch with Ace and Hansen, and he'll be able to help you out with any of your concerns with your financial standards. Ethan, man, thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Thank
you for having me. It was a blast. I had a blast. It's great.
I just close out by saying you're just one story away. Keep hustling.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.